Among the most successful of all marine animals, mollusks display great diversity and a remarkable range of body forms, allowing them to live almost everywhere from the ocean depths to the splash zone. They include oysters, sea slugs, and octopuses. Most species have shells and are passive or slow-moving. Some lack eyes. Others are intelligent, active hunters with complex nervous systems and large eyes. Filter-feeding mollusks, such as clams, are crucial to coastal ecosystems, as they provide food for other animals and improve water quality and clarity. Many mollusks are commercially important for food, pearls, and their shells. Most mollusks have a head, a soft body mass, and a muscular foot. The foot is formed from the lower body surface and helps it move. Mollusks have what is called a hydrostatic skeleton. Their bodies are supported by internal fluid pressure rather than a hard skeleton. All mollusks have a mantle, a body layer that covers the upper body and may or may not secrete a shell. The shell of bivalves, clams, and relatives has two halves joined by a hinge. These can be held closed by powerful muscles while the tide is out or if danger threatens. Mollusks other than bivalves have a rasping mouthpart, or radula, which is unique to mollusks. Cephalopods, octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish also have beak-like jaws, as well as tentacles, but most lack a shell, while most gastropods, slugs, and snails have a single shell. This is usually a spiral in snails, but can be cone-shaped in other forms, such as limpets. The ways in mollusks feed are almost as varied as their anatomy. Sedentary mollusks, such as many bivalves including clams and oysters, create water currents through tubular outgrowths of their siphons. They filter food from the moving water with their mucus-covered gills. Suitably sized particles are then selected and passed to the mouth by bristly flaps called palps. Sea slugs, chitons, and many sea snails graze algae from hard surfaces using their rasp-like radula. Radulae have tooth-like structures called denticles, many of which are reinforced with an iron deposit for durability. Larger mollusks feed on crustaceans, worms, fish, and other mollusks, which they locate either by the scent or, in the case of some cephalopods such as octopuses, by sight. Cephalopods use their suckered arms or the tips of their feeding tentacles to capture prey and their parrot-like beak to crush and dismember it. Some squid even appear to hunt in packs and swim in formation over reefs looking for prey. Mollusks move in many different ways. Most gastropods glide across surfaces using their mucus-lubricated foot. Exceptions include the sea butterfly, which has a modified fin-like extensions for swimming. Some bivalves, such as scallops, also swim, producing jerky movements by clapping the two halves of their shell together. Other bivalves burrow by probing with their foot and then pulling themselves downward by muscular action. Cephalopods are efficient swimmers. Some have fins on the sides of their bodies that let them hover in the water, and they accelerate rapidly by squirting water out through their siphons. In many mollusks, reproduction simply involves releasing sperm or eggs, gametes, into the water. Fertilization is external and there is no parental care. Individuals may be of separate sexes or hermaphrodites, having both male or female at different times, or, as in nudibranch, produce both eggs and sperm, although eggs can be fertilized only by cross-fertilization. Some species such as slipper lampets change sex with age, while oysters can change sex several times in a breeding season. Among cephalopods, males court females, fertilization is internal, and in some species, the eggs are protected by the females until they hatch. Also called the blue mussel, this edible, black-shelled bivalve attaches itself in large numbers to various substrates using tough fibers called byssus threads. These fibers are extremely strong and prevent the mussels from being washed away. The fibers increase in strength and fall, possibly to cope with storms. When the mussel opens its shell, water is drawn in over the gills, or tenidia, which absorb oxygen into the tissues and also filter food particles out of the water. Common mussels are very efficient filter feeders. They process about 10 to 15 gallons, 45 to 70 liters, of water per day and consume almost everything they trap. The sexes are separate, and so grouping together in beds helps to ensure that their eggs are fertilized. After hatching, the planktonic larvae are dispersed by the ocean currents. After some months, the larvae settle, attach, and metamorphose, but can resorb their byssus and move to a better spot. The largest and heaviest of all mollusks is the giant clam. Like other bivalves, it feeds by filtering small food particles from the water using its ingoing of inhalant siphon, which is fringed with small tentacles. However, it differs in obtaining most of its nourishment from zooxanthellae, unicellular algae that live within its tissues, a type of relationship also associated with coral polyps. The algae have a constant and safe environment in which to live, and the clams obtain carbon-based products, sugars, made by the algae during photosynthesis. In fact, so dependent is the giant clam on these algae that will die without them. The adult is sessile, immobile, and its inhalant and exhalant, outgoing, siphons are the only openings in its mantle. Although the scalloped edges of their shell halves are mirror images of one another, larger individuals may be unable to close their shells fully, so their brightly colored mantle and siphons remain constantly exposed. Many giant clams appear iridescent due to an almost continuous covering of purple and blue spots on their mantles, while others look more green or gold, but all have a number of clear spots, or windows, that allow sunlight to filter into the mantle cavity. Fertilization is external, and the eggs hatch into free-swimming larvae before settling onto the seabed. The exhalant siphon expels water and at spawning time provides an exit point for the eggs or sperm. The sea hare, a type of sea slug, has tentacles reminiscent of a hare's ears. It has an internal shell about 11/2 in 4 centimeters long that is visible only through a dorsal opening in the mantle. If disturbed, it releases purple or white ink. It is not known if this response is a defense mechanism. This is the only squid that spends its entire life in deep, oxygen-poor water. Like many deep-living creatures, the vampire squid is bioluminescent and has light organs, or photophores, on the tips of its arms and at the base of its fins. If threatened, it flashes these lights and writhes around in the water, finally ejecting mucus that sparkles with blue luminescent light. When the lights go out, the vampire squid will have vanished. Its predators include deep-diving whales. Nautilus and Alanautilus are the only cephalopods with an external shell that protects them from predation as they swim in the open waters of the Indo-Pacific. Gas trapped in the shell's inner chambers provide buoyancy. The head protrudes from the shell and has up to 90 suckerless tentacles, which are used to capture prey such as shrimp and other crustaceans. The head also features a pair of rudimentary eyes that lack a lens and work on a principle similar to a pinhole camera. The Nautilus swims using jet propulsion, drawing water into its mantle cavity and expelling it forcefully through a tubular siphon, which can be directed to propel the Nautilus forward, backward, or sideways. Unlike most other cephalopods, Nautiluses mature late, at about 10 years of age, and produce only about 12 eggs per year. They are often referred to as living fossils, as they appear little changed from the fossil nautiloids that lived in prehistoric oceans over 200 million years ago. Of over 10 cuttlefish species, the Australian giant cuttlefish is the largest. Like all cuttlefish, it has a flattened body and an internal shell, known as the cuttle and familiar to many as budgerigar food. This species lives for up to 3 years and gathers in huge numbers to breed. Males have elaborate courtship displays, which involve hovering in the water while making rapid, kaleidoscope changes of color, as the male shown here is doing. When a female is receptive, the male deposits a sperm package in a pouch under her mouth. This hater bursts, releasing sperm and fertilizing her 100 to 300 golf ball-sized eggs, which she then deposits on a hard substrate. The eggs hatch into miniature adults after several months. The North Pacific giant octopus is one of the largest invertebrates and also one of the most intelligent. It can solve problems, such as negotiating a maze by trial and error, and remember the solution for a long time. It has large, complex eyes with color vision and suckers that can distinguish between objects by touch alone. It changes color rapidly by contracting or expanding pigmented areas in cells called chromatophores, enabling it to remain camouflaged regardless of background. It also uses its color to convey mood, becoming red if annoyed and pale if stressed. Most cephalopods show little parental care, but female giant octopuses guard their eggs for up to 8 months until they hatch. They do not eat during that time and siphon water over the eggs to keep them clean and aerated.